this video, we're going to be taking a look at Shaak T for the Legacy Collection. She's the very last action figure released in the numbering order for the Legacy Collection at Build a Droid number 61. Last but not least, I'll say that. She's definitely one of the highlights of the entirety of the Legacy Collection. For obvious reasons, Shaak T's a fan favorite anyway, but I think this one in particular is much more of a fan favorite, as you can see here. There is another Shaak T that was released in the Legacy Collection as well that I'll show off here in a little bit, and she was in the 2 packs that were Target exclusives at the time. But this one I have showed off on the channel before in the entirety of the Final Wave video that I did almost about a year and a half ago at this point, time of this video. But Shaak T definitely deserves her own individual review. At this point, I've had a couple for like Luminara. I think even there's several other Jedi, but I think Shaak T definitely deserves some of her own videos. So like I said, this particular version of Shaak T is based upon her appearance in the Force Unleashed game, when Starkiller goes to Felucia to hunt her down. And Shaak T is one of those characters that it just seems like she keeps getting resurrected from the dead at every chance possible. And even to this day, it seems to be in limbo as to exactly what her fate is. Of course, at one point she was taken out by General Grievous, and then at one point by Darth Vader at the Jedi Temple, and then of course by Starkiller in the Force Unleashed, which I think that's the canon story that most people probably follow. And even in some cases that's disputed every now and then, so who knows what her story is. It's interesting. She's probably been resurrected more often than any other character, even more so than Darth Maul. I think it's one of those things where a story's written for her, and then afterwards people are like, maybe not. We'll try something new. I think she deserves something better. Or she should have gone out this way, or no, she should have gone out that way, or no, she should have lived, and things like that. What else can I say about Shaak T? Interesting character. I do have quite a few action figures of her. I do have the Clone Wars animated one as well that I'll show off in a video at some point. But let's just go ahead and take a closer look at this. So to date, this probably is the best Shaak T that Hasbro has ever made, and I'll say that because she's the most articulated, and on top of that, her paint is much more crisp and much more defined and better looking than I think the rest of them have been. The other one in the Legacy Collection, that one's super articulated as well, and it's a good action figure, but I think they could have done a little bit better in the face paint. So as you can see, Shaak T is going kind of wild here, which makes sense since she's living on Felucia. Gonna have to go in hunting mode. And this action figure has a lot of nice detail in it. As you can see in the head sculpt there, looks pretty good. Looks like she has some type of headpiece there. Or some piece of jewelry, I think. And she does have a necklace as well, which is very nicely detailed. Some nice paint in her head tails there, or I don't think they're head tails, but they're similar. I'm trying to think what they're called. Same as species as Ahsoka. Dugata, I think it is. Something like that. And as you can see for Alpha here, leaves a little to the imagination. And it looks like she has some rope or something wrapped around her there. And she does have some jewelry for her loincloth. And I'm not sure if these are tattoos or just her natural skin tone there, pattern for her. Very well could be. She does have these straps, I would assume. For a character that's not wearing a whole lot, she sure does have a lot about her. And she just has these rags basically wrapped around her legs and her feet. She does have these spikes sticking out on her gauntlet basically there. Armband here. Looks like some golden rings or something wrapped around her wrist. In terms of her articulation, she does have a ball joint at the head here, and despite her head tails basically there, she has a pretty good range of motion. She looks better to her left than she does her right, just because of the shape of them. So not too bad. She does have hinge at the shoulders, which they go about 90 degrees. Not too bad. And hinged elbow there. Swivel wrist. Swivel mid-torso, or swivel abdomen, I guess. Right there where that rope is, basically. And swivel hips, and hinged knees, and hinged ankles. So very nice articulation for Shaak T here. And for weapons and accessories, she just has the one lightsaber here, nice blue blade, a little bit of a unique color of blue compared to what we normally get, and she does have a unique hilt here, and I think this might be unique to her, or this is the hilt that is supposed to be Shaak T's. She does not have an unignited one, which even she did, where you possibly gonna plug it in. Then she does have the final part here we need to take a look at for BGJ38. That is his left arm here. Some nice parts on that. And I think I'm going to give this droid his own video coming up next. And then we'll kind of do like a final review of this entire wave together. One thing about the lightsaber is it's better if you have it in her left hand there. She has a smaller grip there compared to her right hand. As you can see, there's just no way she's going to hold that. Still, you can get her some nice poses. Looks pretty good. And even without the help of a stand, I think she stands pretty good on her own. Yeah, not too bad there. So I just looked it up real quick, and it turns out these are called head tails. I always figured they were something else, but I guess not. And before we wrap up this video, we'll bring out some comparison figures for her. Bring out her apprentice, Maris Baroud here, who is featured on the channel. And then I said I was going to compare her to the other Legacy Collection, Shaak. And this one's more movie accurate. Come to think of it, I think her eyes, if I recall correctly, are much less defined in the movie compared to The Force Unleashed. So that might be accurate to her. But still, I think the paint is a little bit better on the Force Unleashed Shaak here. But this is a nice action figure. Definitely the definitive movie version of her that we have to date. Would be nice to get a TVC release of her. And there's a huge difference in the head tails there, as you can see. Maybe this is just Shaak getting older at this point. Seems to be a trend that we've noticed with Ahsoka. Then we'll bring out one more here. Starkiller himself. Unfortunately, we don't have a Starkiller specific to his Felucia outfit. I think either times he goes to Felucia, we don't have a version of Starkiller in action figure form. So that would be a nice thing for Hasbro to get on at some point. I think that's pretty much all I could tell you about Shaak and her Force Unleashed appearance here. So would I recommend her for your collection? I totally would. I know she's a very highly sought after action figure. She's probably considered the best Shaak we've gotten to date. Even aside from the obvious reasons, she's just a good action figure overall. Very articulated, the paint is very crisp, and it's unfortunate that we haven't gotten Shaak in the TVC line up to this point. I hope we do soon. I know she shows up in some lists every now and then, so hopefully some awareness is brought to her one of these days. Now that we're approaching some anniversaries for the prequel line, of course now this year is the 25th anniversary of the Phantom Menace. I don't recall if Shaak in the Phantom Menace or not. But definitely Attack of Clones, and of course Revenge of the Sith, or most of her scenes from Revenge of the Sith were ultimately cut. But still, this is the season to finally get Shaak in the TVC line. Even if they did a straight repack of this Force Unleashed one, I don't think people will be too upset about that. She's a great action figure as is. She doesn't really need any updating. I think even if they went and did the hinged hips for her, that wouldn't really look very good. It would take away from the aesthetic of her. So if they just did a straight repack, I think that'd be fine. As far as price is concerned, yes, she is very expensive, similar to the Solo Twins and most of the other action figures in this wave. So if you find her for decent price, I would say jump on it. I actually got her in 2017 around the same time as Crook. I think it was around June or July of 17. And I forget exactly what I paid for her. I know it was probably less than $100 though. I don't think any of these action figures I ever paid over $100 for, except for maybe Jason Solo brand new at one point. But still, if you find her for less than 100, I would say you should take that golden opportunity and go ahead and get her for your collection. And if you can have one Shaak T for your collection, I think this is a great candidate to have. Solid action figure all around, one of my favorites, definitely one of the main highlights from the Legacy collection, and she was a great way to finish out the line. But anyways, that concludes this review. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for plenty more reviews in the future. There will always be more to come. If you haven't already, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I always appreciate all your support. And check out the links in the description if you haven't done so already. As always, thanks for watching.